In this video, we will examine the causes, symptoms, and general characteristics of pancreatic cancer through the lens of cell signaling. First, let's take a look at some basic cell signaling concepts. The first type of signaling that we will look at is local signaling. In cell-cell recognition, cells physically bind to molecules on another cell's surface in order to ascertain the identity of the cell they are binding to. Cells may also be connected by channels in their plasma membranes and/or cell walls called gap junctions in animals and plasmodesmata in plants. In paracrine signaling, cells secrete chemicals called local regulators that affect cells in their immediate area. One such local regulator is a growth factor, which is a compound that stimulates cells surrounding the secretion cell to grow and divide when it connects to a receptor. So they would grow and divide. Finally, in synaptic signaling, neurons stimulated by an electrical impulse release neurotransmitters into the synapse, separating two neurons, which are then received by proteins on the receiving neuron, which creates a new electrical signal. The second type of signaling we will examine is long-distance signaling. The journey of an electrical signal down the axon of some very long neuron cells can be considered long-distance signaling. So the axon would be like from here to here, be a very long axon. That's why it's long distance. Moreover, in hormone signaling, a hormone is released by a gland cell into the bloodstream. It travels throughout the body and eventually binds to a receptor on a target cell very far from the gland cell itself. Now let's talk about some transduction signaling pathways. There are three stages to a transduction signaling pathway in cell signaling. First, in reception, a ligand, which is a molecule that binds to another specific molecule, usually a larger molecule, binds to a specific receptor protein on the cell, often prompting a shape change, represented here by a fold in the protein. Second, in transduction, the shape change or other reaction of the protein to the ligand prompts a chain reaction of sorts in which proteins are alternately activated and deactivated until the signal is converted into a form that can bring about a cellular response. The cellular response produced at the end of the transduction pathway can be anything including but not limited to enzymatic activity, a change in cellular metabolism, the opening of a transport protein, the activation of genes in the nucleus, or apoptosis. For example, the hormone glucagon triggers a transduction pathway that eventually leads to the breakdown of glycogen in liver cells. Finally, we will briefly address cyclic AMP. Cyclic AMP is a secondary messenger molecule involved in many cell signaling processes. It is produced when a specific signaling molecule like epinephrine, here represented by ligand, bonds to a receptor on the outside of the cell, activating a membrane enzyme that synthesizes cyclic AMP from ATP. Cyclic AMP then usually activates a protein called protein kinase A in cells, which phosphorylates other proteins in a protein kinase cascade, which we will explain later on in this video. Now, cell signaling processes are markedly similar among almost all organisms, suggesting that many cell signaling processes evolved before the first multicellular organism ever evolved. Now, on to pancreatic cancer itself. Some statistics about pancreatic cancer. Only 7% of pancreatic cancer patients survive 5 years after their diagnosis. 24 people die from pancreatic cancer daily. In short, this cancer is very, very bad and can turn deadly quick. Now, pancreatic cancer can be caused by a variety of factors, but all of the factors fall into two broad categories. Some pancreatic cancers are hereditary, that is, they are caused by genetic diseases or disorders inherited from one's ancestors. However, the vast majority of pancreatic cancers, about 90%, are caused by environmental factors such as carcinogens like red meat. And these environmental factors and carcinogens can enter the DNA of a cell, mutate its chromosomes at the site where a certain protein is, and cause the cancer. Now, let's get into the technical stuff. There is a specific genetic mutation that leads to pancreatic cancer, a mutation in the KRAS gene on the small arm of chromosome 12 on site 12.1. There are over 25 million base pairs in the gene. If you took every human's KRAS gene and stretched them in a rope, that rope would reach around the world 1.5 times. Of course, everyone would be dead without their KRAS gene, so no one would be around to appreciate such a feat. Now, what is the KRAS protein's normal function? Normally, the KRAS protein is a G protein linked to a G-linked protein receptor. Now, a G protein is a protein which binds the energy-rich molecule GTP. When the G-linked protein receptor is stimulated by a ligand molecule, here a hormone, it changes shape, activating the KRAS protein to phosphorylate other proteins in a protein kinase cascade. So this shape change in the protein activates the protein KRAS protein, which then takes a phosphate group and passes it on to another protein, and then that protein passes on the phosphate group to another one, and so on and so forth to activate and deactivate proteins. The KRAS protein has this structure when normally formed, and this structure can be disrupted by a mutation in DNA. Now, what exactly happens when that structure is disrupted and the KRAS protein mutates? Well, the cell no longer requires the ligand to bond to the G protein-coupled receptor to activate the KRAS protein. So this leads to the cell transduction pathway continually activating an uncontrollable growth and division of the cell. So it would grow and it would divide. Now, the symptoms of pancreatic cancer. Symptoms vary by case, but some common pancreatic cancer symptoms are pain in the abdomen and middle back, fatigue, loss of appetite, nausea or fluid in the abdomen, dark urine, weight loss, and yellow skin or eyes. So jaundice, the urine, unintended weight loss, pain after eating, back pain, nausea, and lower abdomen pain. And the pancreatic cancer, when it develops, looks like this, a pancreatic tumor. And there is also this in an affected pancreatic cell, or pancreatic organ. And the pancreas is situated in this location in the body. So, how can you avoid this terrible disease? First of all, as with most diseases, don't smoke. Smoking is bad for you, smoking will kill you. Maintain a healthy weight. Limit your alcohol use. Avoid chemicals that may cause mutations in your DNA, like carcinogens. And visit a doctor regularly. The majority of pancreatic cancer cases are very hard to treat because they are diagnosed late in the cancer's development. Don't let that be you. Go and see your doctor. And here are our references. Our first reference is Can Pancreatic Cancer Be Invented from the American Cancer Society? Then Cell Signaling from the Pancreatic Cancer Action Network, Facts and Statistics from the Pancreatic Cancer Action Network, Genetic Mutations in the Pancreatic Cancer Action Network, the KRAS gene from USA.gov, the Pancreatic Cancer Risk Factors from the American Cancer Society, and Campbell Biology and Focus from Pearson Education Incorporated. All right, thank you very much. Finally, in synaptic signaling, an electrical impulse coming down the axon of a neuron prompts the release of neurotransmitters across... Ready?